Hi everyone, this is Jerry, and this is an endgame study involving a rook and pawn versus a rook. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, feel free to send me a message, and I hope you enjoy this endgame study. Okay, first things first about this position, the white pawn is exactly one square away from becoming a queen. Also, the rook is positioned such that if it moves to any of these four squares, the rook will simply capture the white pawn and the resulting position will be a draw, assuming there are no serious errors made. And if the white rook is to come to any of these three squares, we just have king captures rook. And so, in summary, the white rook can't move. And since the white rook really can't move, the white pawn can't move either. And so it's on the white side, it's up to the white king to try and make progress in some way, and his objective is going to be to try and get close to this pawn so that he is protecting it, and only then move the white rook off of the a8 square. So it's white's move in this position. Let's just say he goes in this direction, heading towards trying to guard this a7 pawn. And let's just take a look at the black pieces and what they should be doing. The first piece we should look at is the black king. Note the following things about the black king. His position is only safe on either g7 or h7. And of these two squares, let's go ahead and stick with the g7 square as the square that this king will stay on for the remainder of the game. Since it's a bit closer to the center, why not go ahead and just stick with the g7 square opposed to the h7 square. There's a good reason that this king needs to stay on this square here, and here are the reasons. For example, if the king gets it in his head that he wants to head in this direction towards the a7 pawn, so that he's then attacking it for a second time and then go ahead and capture it with the rook, this is what will happen. If king here, we see rook to h8, and after rook captures pawn, we have rook to h7 checking the king, and after the king moves, we're going to grab the rook. This position is a basic king and rook versus king. Eventually that'll lead to checkmate. The rook, of course, does not have to capture the pawn right away. He can give some checks, but unfortunately these checks are short-lived, and we reach a position where he can check no more, and the rook is either going to have to capture the pawn or allow the pawn to promote. And so once again we have a similar thing going on. So that's the reason why moving the king to this square is no good. There are three other squares which are no good. If the king were to come here, we have rook check, and after a king move, pawn promotion. And just for the sake of completion, if the king comes here, we once again have rook check, king move, pawn promotion, and the last one being if king here, rook check, pawn promotion. In other words, I said a mouthful just then. In summary, don't move the black king. Instead, we're just going to focus on what to do with the black rook. The rook simply wants to stay in a position so that he keeps pressure on the a7 pawn, and the rook will continue to do that until the white king is defending the a7 pawn. And this is how the game might continue. The king, or it's black's move, the rook, let's just say, goes to a2. The rook really just has to go back and forth on a1 and a2. The king is just approaching the pawn. It's not protecting the pawn, not protecting the pawn. It's now protecting the pawn. This is when we give check to the king. The king, let's say, moves here. We go back to the a file to keep pressure on this pawn. So once again, if this rook is to move off of the a8 square to one of these squares, then we just simply capture the pawn. If the king comes here, once again, it's protecting the pawn. Now we give check. There's really no more progress that white can make in this position. There's no place to really hide the king, and there's just really nothing more to do. Let me just show you the reason why we need to be giving check at this point in the game. If the rook were to, let's just say, come to this square, the white rook can just simply move out of the way, and now is threatening to push forward to promote the pawn. And now checking the king is not going to turn out favorably, because if the rook comes back over to the a file, it's too little too late. The pawn is going to promote. And if the rook tries to keep giving checks, unfortunately the checks run out. And we reach a position where the next move is just going to be pawn to a8, and white is going to be winning. So just a quick recap. If you're playing the black side from this position here, don't move the black king. Instead, just oscillate the rook on a1 and a2. As soon as the white king is guarding the a7 pawn, that's when you give check. Don't go to these squares. And that's really all you need to know about this position. So I hope you got something out of it. Take care. Bye.